I'd like to introduce the CEO of Silvercore Outdoors, Travis Bader. Now, Travis is a renowned figure in the outdoors and the firearms industry. Travis brings a wealth of knowledge on safety, responsibility, and the great outdoors, along with a deep commitment to mental health. And, by the way, you are one of my favorite podcasters, so congrats to Travis for that.
Thank you. Real tough act to follow out here. Let's get a poll. Quick show of hands. Who here has been diagnosed with ADHD? I'm not alone. All right. Fair enough. I was 8 years old when I was handed a brochure by my parents. I couldn't read it. I could only make out shapes and colors on it because I had too many tears in my eyes, but they explained it to me and they said, it's a boarding school, government assisted. You clearly don't like living here and you're too much for us to handle. We're gonna ship you off. For me, that was the beginning of a process of getting professionally checked out. The doctor said, your boy's got severe ADHD, but don't you worry about it. Have we got a cure for you? Through the marvels of modern day medication, we'll have your boy right on track in no time. They told me I was a handful, and I guess that's the medical term for the amount of Ritalin it took to kind of calm me down. 8 pills in the morning, another 6 pills in the afternoon. The doctors told me that I was on an experimental run, and I was on the highest dosage of Ritalin for the province. All I knew is that it had my heart racing, I had headaches. It affected my appetite, and I could barely open my eyes up when I went outside because my pupils were so dilated. And I still had that ever churning motor in my head. Chugga-chugga-choo, chugga-chugga-choo, chugga-chugga-choo. It kept on going. When I got out of elementary school, grade 7, end of grade 7, I took myself off cold turkey. Didn't want to go into high school on the meds, and I knew that there had to be a better way. And it turns out there was. For me, connecting with nature was a very powerful tool that I was able to use. I'd take my 1978 wood panel Oldsmobile station wagon deep into the BC forest or up the mountains with all my gear on my back, and I'd spend weeks on end camping and hiking with the canvas shoulder straps on my Trapper Nelson backpack digging into my shoulders. My shelter was a blue tarp, which I'd fashioned into a teepee or into a lean-to because I didn't have enough money to purchase any real equipment. And I would suffer all of the inevitable issues that somebody would have going into the outdoors underprepared and under-equipped. I'd get heat stroke and hypothermia, dehydration. I was raised to believe that needing water was a sign of weakness, but that's a completely different story. You know, people would ask me about why I would put myself in these situations of difficulty. And the answer for me was really, really simple. That motor in my head would begin to shut down and it'd be replaced with a feeling in my heart of being present and a feeling of being connected to something greater. And I wanted to share that feeling with other people. So by the end of my teenage years, I figured outdoor adventure tourism, this is how I can share it with others. That's the ticket for me. Now, I'd never rafted before. I could barely swim, having almost drowned a couple times in the past. But that didn't stop me from wanting to open up a whitewater rafting company. So Canadian Tire I go, $20 later, I've got myself my raft. I go out to the Chilliwack River and I find a section of the river that is whitewatery enough. I put my boat in the water and I kind of cruise down the side, see what it feels like. And keep in mind, I have no life jacket. I have no wetsuit that can offer buoyancy. So I'm taking it kind of easy. I put the boat in, hike up, put it in again, do another run, each time progressing a little bit further until I can hit those rapids. Once I got those rapids under control, I figured, all right, fortune hates a coward. Let's head up to the canyon, put it in. There's no way out as I come through. I'll hit the rapids in Tamahai. And I did it. It was pretty cool. I learned something though. Those scary looking whitewater rapids that look so dangerous, well, they really weren't that bad. As long as I was able to hold onto my raft and it didn't pop, which happened from time to time, those rapids would spit me out down the river and on I'd go. It was those corners in the areas that looked kind of placid that presented more danger. They had the snags that would pop my boat. They had the strainers which would hold my body under. And I think about that, and I apply that to my life figuratively. As I go through life, it's those scary challenges that I see that should be met head on and with enthusiasm. Because you get through them, and you get spit out further down life. It's those areas that look somewhat safe and inviting, those placid areas that hold the snags that can hold you back and slow you down, or worse, hold you under to where you're not living your life at all. Wanting to progress a little further, I started checking out some bigger rivers, the Ilaho River, the Thompson, the Hatlatch. I didn't know how to run these things, so I'd find out where the commercial companies put in, and when they showed up with their busload of people, paying customers, and all their fancy equipment, there I was with my $20 raft and my swim trunks, and that was it. I figured they can't stop me from putting my boat in the water. I can watch them as they navigate this river, and if I get into trouble, surely they're gonna have some moral obligation to try and help me. After a few runs on a few different rivers, I guess the word started to get out. One of the guides came up and said, Trav, here's an old set of Farmer John neoprene wetsuit, and for the love of God, you're gonna die out here, wear this life jacket. So gave me an old faded commercial whitewater life jacket. With my new suit of armor, I was able to convince a friend to come on out and run a river with me. We drove on out to the river. He gets out and has second thoughts. He looks at this thing and he says, I don't know, looks dangerous to me. We see some kayakers down below, and I said, these guys look like they know what they're doing, let's go talk to them. They said, no, not running it. It's going too fast, water's too high. Man, I'd already driven all the way out there, and gas is expensive, and I didn't want to turn around at this point. So I told my friend, I said, tell you what, why don't you stand on the bank, here's my camera, you take pictures, I'm gonna put in the roughest section. You'll watch me go down, you'll see how safe this is. And then you and I, we can go down through the less rough section. He says, all right, Trav, but here's the rule. I can't help you if you run into trouble up there, so you're on your own, okay? And if you die, I'm throwing your camera in the water because I don't want any evidence of this. I said, all right, fair deal. So up I hike, go into the rough section of rapids, I look at them, okay, I get my plan, I got a hole, another hole, I wanna miss those, I get on my line, enter river left, exit river right, got it. Toss my boat in the water and I jump in. Almost immediately, I knew I was in trouble. The water is way colder than I was used to, which causes the boat to deflate a little bit. I had little goofy oars on the side, I was gonna row out to get into my line, but I abandoned them immediately in favor of my arms and legs and trying to get to where I needed to go. The water was going faster than I was used to, and I get sucked into the first hole. It was a recirc, so it kept recirculating me through. Excuse me. Eventually, I get spat out of this, but only after being dragged in over and over by this goofy boat that I was hanging on to for dear life. I look, there's my line, hold on my boat, I'm gonna swim as fast as I can, and I give swimming motions if I didn't have to hold this microphone. Swim as fast as I can over to get onto my line, but I wasn't strong enough. The river was too fast, and into the second hole I went, and that was a much bigger hole. Sucks me down, life jacket, wetsuit, everything pinned down. Aerated water, way less buoyancy. Now I don't know what it was, if it was a lack of oxygen from inhaling or swallowing so much water, but I started to get this extreme sense of calm come over me. And I started to visualize the predicament that I was in from a bird's eye view. And I could see myself in the water, and then I could visualize my body floating down the river and wondering if it would hurt. And I visualized in newspaper articles about the river claiming another life. And I thought, not for me. I ditched this boat that kept pulling me back in. And I started making every letter of the alphabet with my body, just trying to touch some dark water to pull me out. Eventually it did. My head, river right, swim as hard as I can. I look left, hey, that's closer. Immediately readjust, start swimming river left. In my head, I'm not gonna stop until I reach the shore, but the second my body got around a rock that offered a little bit of shelter, my buddy had to drag my body out because everything stopped working. And I was just throwing up and coughing out what felt like a ton of water. I learned a few things from that. One thing I learned, learned a couple things, I guess. One thing I learned was, when the chips are down, you tend to defer to what your prior planning was. My prior planning was miss the holes, get out river right, hold on to this boat. In the lulls in our life, it's important for us to input proper prior planning so that when things do get hectic, we can defer to that without even having to think. I learned that sometimes these things that you're holding on to, which you think might be there to save you or help you, might actually be an anchor. If I had ditched that boat after I had flipped out on the first hole and swam, I wouldn't have gotten sucked into the second hole, which could have possibly taken my life. I also learned that the idea of being pot committed is a fallacy. I'd driven all the way out there. Gas costs money, costs my time. I knew the right thing to do in my gut, and that was to not go in the water. But I figured I'd come so far anyways. Let's just see this through. I apply this to my life. If I'm in an argument, all right, I'm already so far into it, it's never too late to stop, regroup, and choose a more beneficial course of action. You're feeling boxed in? Stop, regroup, choose a more beneficial course of action. I don't think I got the last bit memorized, so I'll pull this out. In modern society, where many people have become disconnected from the natural world and its inherent challenges, deliberately engaging with nature's adversities can serve as a way to reconnect with fundamental aspects of existence. This can be as challenging as you wish. It can be a walk in the rain. It can be an ascent up a mountain. Our society seems obsessed on both seeking out and offering quick fixes. You want to lose weight? Be happy, be calm, pep up. There's a pill or product for that. I can guarantee you 100% that nothing worthwhile in my life has ever come easy. When it comes to mental health, the recipe's pretty simple. Get proper sleep, eat well, exercise, form meaningful connections, limit negative substances, alcohol, drugs, devices, have goals. Nature provides these opportunities in spades. Studies have shown that mental health is directly related to a person's ability to be flexible and adaptable. Nature offers the predictability of unpredictability, which requires you to be both flexible and adaptable to thrive. You will get bumps and bruises and scrapes, but you'll leave it better. I'm going to end with a quote that applies to what a lot of people have been talking about here so far. It's by E.H. Chapin, and he says, "Out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls. The most massive characters are seared with scars." Thank you. Thank you.